So Luna's not a law fellow, but he's one of our many partners and uncles, and actually is funded by one of the grants that we share. So, ready to pass out toys? Great. Okay. Thanks, Luna.
Okay, aloha everybody. So my name is Luna Kekoa. I am currently employed in the Division of Conservation and Resources Enforcement. I wear the hat of Community Makai Watch Program. That's my title is Community Makai Watch Program Coordinator. But I'm actually a puka filler. So in Hawaii, puka is a hole or gap, and it's filling all the different gaps and holes in enforcement. Makai, so Makai means ocean, so it's like the ocean side. Mauka is the mountain side, so you have a Mauka Makai action. And I'm also going to touch a little bit about the DOCARE Academy and also the different questions that folks was asking. So a little bit about myself. I don't have a law degree, but I was a marine biologist. I feel like now I'm a social scientist because of the role I play. And I really don't use my degree. It's what my parents taught me in my position. It's like the values, being able to listen. I'm also a fisherman, but the thing I've learned is that you just got to be able to fish to please your other half. So I can dive down to catch holes, and that's what my other half loves to eat. So previously, I was a DOCARE fellow. So in 2010 to 2012, I was with Maui at the time. And then previous to that, I was in a managing agency, so I was with Aquatic Resources. So I've seen this program from different perspectives, and then prior to that, I was with the community. So I was writing high school credits with this Makai Watch program to help kids graduate, running after-school programs. So this program, I've seen it grown from that level to now being in the DLNR department, and how we're using the same values and relationships to, fill pukas and make things run efficiently. I am funded by half-time from the Nora Coral Conservation Program, so I'm grateful to that, and that runs through the Hawaii Coral Reef Initiative. And then the other half of my funding comes from the Castle Foundation, and that runs through the law school. And that puts me into the enforcement division. Okay, so the Makai Watch program is how DOCARE engages with community. When Ian was showing his slides of all the different things that we can help with, engaging with communities is one of the ways that we can do that. And the way that I've been able to do that is, like I said, the values that my family's taught me and being able to listen. When we went out to Ka'anapali, they just created a new area where they weren't allowed to catch herbivores. So all the fishermen was like, what does that mean? And I was just like, like when you guys put goats out in your yard? They're like, yeah. I was like, and eats all the grass? They're like, yeah. I was like, the fish do the same thing. They're like, oh, why did they never say that? I was like, it's so understanding what the fishers think and how they take information is helpful to us giving it to them, right? And that's the kind of role that Makai Watch has been playing, to be that voice not only for our officers but for communities, and to have this dialogue back and forth. So how have we done this? So in enforcement, one of the things we say is education, right? So we have these things called splash events. And within DLNR, we grab the managing agency. So we bring the Aquatic Resources, we get their education specialists, and we take our officers out to a place and we go, okay, we're gonna go and talk to people and warn them, because we're gonna educate them. And if they don't know what is the rule, hey, guess what? The education specialist guy is up there, so go talk to them. So we go out there and we warn people, we educate, right? And then we have a training with them. We have like a workshop. And then 6 months later, we come back and we do a smash, because after you splash them with education, if you don't come with a putty stick, like I'm a parent, so I think of my kids, right? You can warn them, you can educate them, but after a while, you either gotta put them in timeout or give them spankings, right? So same with communities, like you can educate them, you can work with them, but after a while, you have to have like a putty stick. So you come back, and if they didn't get their citation, or they didn't get their commercial use permit, here's your citation. We came on, we educated you, we have the record of that, and we told you to go to the workshop, you signed in. Here's your citation, sir. So it's that kind of building the education piece, but also coming with enforcement to build the compliance. And not only that, like David spoke before, like bringing people together in the managing agencies with enforcement officers helps to increase enforceability. So our officers can tell them, when you wrote that rule, you wasn't thinking of when we approached the guy and he's saying, I'm surrounding it, so it's no longer lane net. And it's like, oh. So all of these things, and David has been open and he's come over and he's listened. And luckily he's a fisherman, so he understands. He's like, yep, I know that, I understand that. So that's helpful. So, unlike officers, when I'm out in the field, I don't have weapons or tools, right? I have my own set of tools. So I have education. So what I passed around is one of the first things we created when I was hired. So we were like, a lot of people know how to report to DOCARE, but they don't know what is the rules and what's not the rules, because they're just reporting to DOCARE saying, hey, we see somebody out there fishing. Well, what are they fishing for and what are they doing, right? So then we went on and started educating people. But we also made a tool for officers. So they were like, hey, this is something useful for us. So all we did is take all the regulations and made a picture book for it, right? So now all the rules have a picture of what the fish looks like. So we also made it for anybody who has internet access. So you can go online, print it out, stick it into page protectors, and make a little present for your friends or somebody to give to for Christmas time. So along with that, we also had community training. So we took the curriculum out and we started training communities about this is the kind of fish. So you have this big fat encyclopedia of all the different fish that is regulated, but for each area, you take out your Cliff Notes version, because in Ho'okena, they're looking at manini, kole. In Ha'ena and Hawai'i, they're looking at moi, mullet, because that's what they're ono for. Ono means like hungry, right? So that's what they're looking for. That's how people monitor for what they're hungry for. If you see the center picture, so that was my co-partner on this project. Her name is Ann Chun. She's with the governor, sharing that day when David said that it got passed. This is how we're working with people, right? So the governor now knows. The online violators course, which we're using this curriculum for, was actually an idea, and we went and heard about it from Biscayne Bay, I believe. So they ran a project, a NOAA Reef program, right? Yeah, so it was a grant from NOAA, and we called them up and was like, hey, like we're thinking about this. We got their contact, and we were having this back and forth dialogue. They pretty much told us of the 800 people that went through the class, they only had 8 repeat offenders, and we're like, huh. So that was something good, right? I also wanted to touch on, like I told Carlton, everybody before me was being nice, but the reason why I like the community service, because people have just gotten into the business of that's the price of doing business. I'm gonna make $10,000, pay a $1,000 fine, and walk away with $9,000. But if you can stop them from going out 5 days, you take $50,000 out of their process. So that's where I've been thinking about community service, right? Okay. So we've had vigilant volunteers. We've had stuff with conflict resolutions where we had to go out and do ho'oponoponos. Ho'oponopono is a Hawaiian way of doing conflict resolutions. We had international exchanges where we had people come from Guam, from the Bahamas, to learn from the program of how we engage with communities. We've had pilot projects. So if you see our officer with all of those regulations, and these are our black and white maps. So when we created this rule book, or the pictures, they said, you gotta fix the maps because they're black and white. So guess what? We did. We digitized it for them. But not only that, we made it so that now there's little links so that they can click on it with their iPad and pull up everything. Puka filling. I was the guy that answering the phones. Started to get all the stats. I was like, hey, we're starting to see something here. Because I was looking through it and doing everything by hand, our chief gave us stats. We never had stats since like 2006. So now we're creating a year in review with all of our stats. I'm trying to rush through here. So the academy. So the DOCARE Academy was created because everybody keeps saying one of the things is we need to fill our officers, we need to get more officers. But our chief is thinking, not only do we need to fill the officers, we need to have the right mindset. And a lot of time we're taking from other enforcement divisions, right? Sheriffs, police departments. But your enforcement for natural resources, cultural resources, and it's different than doing a traffic stop. It's different than doing like homicide or murder. It's fish, it's hunting. So we want to put that mindset into our officers. So that's where this idea of the academy came about. Prior to it being funded by the Ledge, we wrote a grant. We got somebody who had built the academy before. But what they needed was a puka filler, somebody to be on the ground and work with the community colleges and work with our AGs, make sure everything was set. Now that we're kind of got things set, we got a DOCARE Academy director who's going to come and talk about it a little bit afterwards. So this program was made to not only fill the pukas, but help focus us on the natural and cultural resources of Hawaii. The deal in our tip app, I'm just going to touch upon that. That is one of the best things. You asked about the time. So when I flew to Lanai, we landed with our chief. The officer that picked us up from Lanai said, "Hey, I got a tip." And I went down and ended up giving like 2 citations for lobsters and then came to pick you up. I was like, oh. So, I mean, it happens. Our officers, and the way it goes to the supervisors, and then the supervisors ding down. So it goes to the top, then down, and it goes to that. So the supervisors and chiefs are taking care and making sure it goes out. That's all the time I have. But if you come and talk, if you have questions, just come and talk to me or Carlton or Ian, anything. That's it.
We can take 1 or 2 questions. Maybe,
I don't want a long answer, I guess, but there's probably good records of the traditional management for resources and fisheries and things, Hawaiian style, that are those methods being considered in the regulation you develop?
I would say yes. So the program that David touched on, the community-based subsistence fishing area, so those areas are protecting traditional practices, cultural practices in certain areas that practice that way. So they are being considered in new, I guess, rules that are being written. Did I say that okay?
I'm going to check in with our enforcement co-chairs for the Coordinating Task Force Enforcement Working Group. Any initial reactions from you all?
It sounds great. Love to hear about the community involvement and reaching down to the grassroots, trying to keep folks involved and educated. I think the tick list of priorities was great. One thing that brings to my mind, given the concerns that we hear from all the jurisdictions with the stand-up to the academy, I know that we do have some officer training out in the other islands, but is there an intent to keep the door open, to have officers from other jurisdictions with the training or part of it be applicable?
He's saying yes, so yes.
Outstanding.
Yeah.
I think what's been interesting for me is to hear all the different kinds of enforcement that happen, from the citation level to the administrative level and the criminal enforcement, and how those all work together and how things are changing. And so I look forward to hearing more about that.
Great, fantastic. So I just want to echo your last point, which is the rapid amount of change that we're going through. And thanks to the funders, the partners, and the agencies, I feel like we're all finally headed in the same direction, expanding our toolkit. But this is all within the last, we're talking 6 years of really intensive effort, or maybe 8, but things are happening, and so we're happy to share. We'll talk more about challenges as well as successes. So we are officially taking a break now. Please enjoy yourself and come back in 10 minutes before we get started. Thank you.